the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 15th chapter, verse 11, in connection with Dasa Muni's visit to the house of the Pandavas in the forest. Following a calculated plan, Duryodhana arranged for Devasa and his men to reach the place of the Pandavas just when the Pandavas' lunchtime ended, so that the Pandavas would be caught without sufficient means to feed such a large number of guests. Knowing Duryodhana's plan, Krishna came to the Pandavas and asked their wife Draupadi if there are any remnants of food which she could offer to him. Draupadi offered him a container in which there was only a little fragment of some vegetable preparation, and Krishna at once ate it. At that moment, all of the sages accompanying Durvasa were taking bath in the river, and when Krishna felt satisfaction from eating Draupadi's offering, they also felt satisfaction, and their hunger was gone. Because Durvasa and his men were unable to eat anything more, they went away without coming into the house of the Pandavas. In this way, the Pandavas were saved from the wrath of Durvasa. Duryodhana had sent them because he knew that since the Pandavas would not be able to receive such a large number, Durvasa would become angry and the Pandavas would be cursed. But Krishna saved them from this calamity by his trick and by his all-cognizant quality. So that can happen with devotees as well. Somebody may do something to try and trap the devotees, say record a conversation, and then later on it backfires on them. Anyway. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this section is entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings, or instructions for uncivilized human beings that want to become civilized human beings. Some of us may be a work in progress. So, civil, to be civil. Civilized. They asked Gandhi once, what do you think about Western civilization? And he said, I think it would be a good idea. Text 7, 8, 7, 6, 10. Okay, 10. Dravya yagya yakshamanam. Dravya yagya yakshamana. Dristva bhutani bibyati. Dristva bhutani bibyati. Esha makaruno hanyad. Esha makaruno hanyad. Atash kyo hi asu trip dhruvam. Ajatyo yasu trip dhruvam. Dravya yagya yakshamana. Dristva bhutani bibyate. Eshama kuruno hanyad. Atashkyo yasu trip dhruvam. Dravya yagya yakshamana. Dristva bhutani bibyati. Eshama kuruno hanyad. Atashkyo yasu trip dhruvam. Bolo. Yakshamana Dushvabhutani Bhibyati Achagyo Yasutrip Dhruva Dravyagya Yakshamana Dushvabhutani Bhibyati Atajgyo Yasutrip Dhruvam Dravayagya. With animals and other eatable things, Yakshamanam, the person engaged in such sacrifices, Drishtva, by seeing, Bhutani, the living entities, animals, Bhabyati, become afraid, Esha, the person, the performer of sacrifice, Ma, us, Akuruna, who is inhumane and merciless, Hanyat, will kill, Atatya, most ignorant, he, indeed, Asutrip, who is most satisfied by killing others. Dhruvam, certainly. Translation. Upon seeing the person engaged in performing the sacrifice, animals meant to be sacrificed are extremely afraid, thinking, this merciless performer of sacrifices, being ignorant of the purpose of sacrifice and being most satisfied by killing others, will surely kill us. Responsively. Upon seeing the person engaged in performing the sacrifice, animals meant to be sacrificed are extremely afraid, thinking this merciless performer of sacrifices, being ignorant of the purpose of sacrifice and being most satisfied by killing others, will surely kill us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Animal sacrifice in the name of religion is current practically all over the world in every established religion. It is said that Lord Jesus Christ, when 12 years old, was shocked to see the Jews sacrificing birds and animals in the synagogues, and he therefore rejected the Jewish system of religion and started the religious system of Christianity, adhering to the Old Testament commandment, thou shalt not kill. At the present day, however, not only are animals killed in the name of sacrifice, but the killing of animals has increased enormously because of the increasing number of slaughterhouses. Slaughtering animals, either for religion or for food, is most abominable and is condemned herein. Unless one is merciless, one cannot sacrifice animals, either in the name of religion or for food. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayam Dadati Swabadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatrubhischa kripa sindhubhyev cha paritanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. That's interesting that the animal is able to think in such a coherent way. So the Bhagavatam is not putting forward anything which is fanciful or concocted. So therefore the animal must have this level of reasoning to be able to work out that this person's not going to be nice to me. Even more, I mean, this is animals going for sacrifice. This must be even more so for animals that are going to be slaughtered. And they put a post on Instagram and it shows you all the different amounts of animals that get killed. And then way, 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 way above everyone else is the chicken. 85 billion chickens get killed a year. And there's phenomenal amounts, things you wouldn't even think. Hundreds of millions of sharks, and just annihilating the planet, ravishing the planet. Mass genocide of animals is going on. But in just a few short years, Srila Prabhupada has had such a powerful effect on changing, and this is increasing more and more, and exponentially it will increase more and more. More and more people become aware. And even now people that do eat meat, they're kind of uncomfortable about the idea. And there's so much information going around now about what goes on behind closed doors. So only a matter of time. Spearheaded by Srila Prabhupada's Sankirtan movement, the sound vibration of the holy name, the establishment of temples and the distribution of prasadam, the Rath Yatra festival. These are all nuclear bombs being dropped in Kali Yuga of spiritual potency to destroy the mass of ignorance. Ignorance means to ignore the facts. That's the mode of ignorance. Mode of passion is, I want to be the center of attention. And the mode of goodness is, we're illuminated with knowledge. We know what to do, what not to do. We at least can lead a pious life. If we're prepared to follow the rules, then the material world isn't such a bad place. But if we abuse them, then the mechanism works very much against us. And that's why sometimes being pious can cause problems as well, because you've learned how to work the system. Everything's nice, you've got a good body, good friends, big house, healthy, everything's good. So you're in the mode of goodness. And you know that you're a good person, so you know that when you die, you're not going to go anywhere horrible. You'll go somewhere nice. And so in this way, there's a false sense of complacency there. And sometimes it can be harder for a person in the mode of goodness to take up spiritual life than a person in the mode of ignorance. Because in the mode of ignorance, you know, well, if there is something after this, I'm in big trouble. So what would be the best way to wake a person up from the mode of ignorance? So, yeah.
By inspiring the compassion to let somebody know that all living entities have value and we're all the same consciousness, essentially, that can wake somebody up from the mode
Do you
of
have any
ignorance.
reference for that in Srila Prabhupada's books?
No.
So in Srila Prabhupada's books, it very much mentions distribution of prasadam and chanting the holy name as our weapons against the forces of ignorance. In Kali Yuga, Pranalpayasasabhya Kala Vasman Yugajana Manasamanda Matya Mandabhagi Upatruta. O learned one, in the signs of Kali, men have but short lives, they're quarrelsome, native, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Buddhani Buddhikamani, Srotavyani Vibhagasa, Ato Sado Tretsayam, Samudjita Manishya, Bruhi Badraya Bhutanam, Yenatma Supersedati. Please, can you tell us what's the essence of all the scriptures? So the thrust is compassion, definitely is, but it's very finely honed, that we're not just going around and being nice guys with everybody and just going to be their pal, and give people a hug and be nice to them. It's a bit more finely honed in than that. Savepam Samparodamo Yato Bhaktir Adhoksaja Krishna Supersedati. If we can inspire within the living entity the necessity to engage in unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service, then Yayatma Supersedati, then the Atma can really be fully satisfied. So we're going to circumvent all the intermediary mundane stages. We want to break free from this mundane idea of how we're going to be good and compassionate. We want to see it like a surgeon. Because a surgeon, you could have somebody in and he needs a triple bypass, but the surgeon's trying to be compassionate, So he's like, are you okay there? It's a bit sharp, but Oh, sorry, was that a bit? Sorry. Oh, are you okay there? I'm just gonna. The surgeon's just like, and then he does the operation. Now you could think that's a bit cruel, but the surgeon knows exactly what he needs to do, how to get to the root of the problem. And Srila Prabhupada said that the highest principle is to save ourselves. So sometimes we can become so preoccupied with saving everybody else that we forget to save ourselves, and we end up drowning. And so initially, in devotional service, the challenge is, can the devotee get free from his anarthas? And guess what the biggest anartha is? Any idea, Jananda? What's the biggest? You're in the association of devotees, and unwanted things are coming up in the heart. So what's one of the most unwanted things that you experience in the association of devotees? That you wouldn't be aware of if you weren't in the association of devotees? Yeah, the unwanted thing is you don't want to be in the association of devotees. They're very annoying. They keep arguing with you, keep trying to put yourself forward. They keep pulling the rug from underneath you. They keep upstaging you. They keep wanting to talk all the time, you know. I'm intelligent. I want to say things. I should be heard. So this is challenged in the association of devotees. In mundane social life, everyone's fine. Everyone can just talk as much. If you notice when they're all sitting around the pub, although you probably won't because you haven't been in the pub, at least not for a while, but everyone wants to just say their bit. The conversation is very disjointed. So they were talking about the Queen, and this guy on the end of the table, he wants to say that he met the Queen and she was wearing a pink salmon coat. So he's waiting, and they say the Queen, and then they move off onto something else, and he's talking about his exhaust pipe in the car, and then he gets his turn and he says, I met the Queen 50 years ago. She was wearing a salmon pink coat. And everyone's like, well, what's that? We're on the exhaust pipe now in the car. So everything becomes disjointed because nobody really wants to listen to anybody else. They just want to speak. Everyone just listen to me. And so the conversation becomes very disjointed because if no one's really listening to anybody, then everyone's just saying what they want to say, you know. Anyway, so it's a very big anartha. Prabhupada said, you'll show your love by how you cooperate. So that's the challenge more than anything else. And it's the hardest thing because Maya knows if you can learn to associate with the devotees nicely, humbly, respectfully, then you're home. You're on your way home. You're on the boat home. But if you keep jumping out the boat all the time and then climbing back in because it's rougher outside, and then you're back in the boat and then you jump over, and then so this ability to become steady and to be able to stay in the association of devotees and not find it unbearable or too irritable after a point, you know. And what causes that is this mundane fault finding, looking at everything and thinking, well, yeah, but I think that could have been done better, and this isn't. Rather than dristai svabhava janatiya papasasta doshan aprakritata miya bhakta janashipaji ganganga sam nakolabud badafena pankya brahmadrapatam abhagachi niradamai. See the faults of other devotees, not yourself, but of other devotees as foam and bubble in the mud, and you bathe in the water of the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. In a similar way, you associate with devotees without considering the superficial problems with their complexion or infirmities or some physical disadvantage that they may have. They maybe don't do things as well as you could do them. That's okay. But let's look at the bhav, you know, how steady is that devotee? How rare is that devotee? How much does he have faith in Krishna and the holy name? These are the things to help us appreciate devotees. If we're able to appreciate, then we're able to cooperate very easily. Cooperation is very difficult when we don't appreciate. And the nice thing about appreciation is it appreciates. And the nasty thing about criticism is it also appreciates. It also gets bigger. So we have to learn how to curve this. Then we can stay, then we can appreciate, then everything's fine. So that's an unwanted thing. So Ignorance is prevalent, and people are ignoring, but more and more the facts are coming out, and more the vibration of truth is radiating from Srila Prabhupada's books. And I don't know how long it takes to produce 1 million of Srila Prabhupada's books, but the book distribution is going on. We're increasing by 20% this year. We want to do the same again the year next. So as that vibration keeps increasing, millions of more books keep going out, then the atmosphere of truth will start to filter all the ignorance, and people will want the truth more than they want to ignore the truth. So, Srila Prabhupada quotes, Lord Jesus Christ, when he was 12 years old, was shocked to see the Jews sacrificing birds and animals in the synagogue, and therefore he rejected the Jewish system of religion. So it's interesting. I remember when I was first a devotee, and somebody gave me a leaflet with a picture of the devil on it. And he was holding a bowl of fruit, had a pineapple in it, and some bananas, and this devil with the horns. And it said on the leaflet, Satan is a vegetarian. And then it had a list at the back of satanic things, video games, yoga, mantra meditation. These were all considered satanic. So that was maybe 40 years ago. And now they're appreciating that it is a very fundamental principle. Are you killing animals? Do you agree with killing animals? So they're starting to catch on. The whole Buddhist religion was started because Buddha was disappointed at how the animals were being killed. Jesus Christ, he rejected the Jewish because the animals were being killed in the synagogues. So it seems like, they used to say, it's just a small minor detail. It doesn't really matter whether you kill them or you don't. The main thing is, have you accepted, But now it's not. Now it's become a major thing, People are, if you're putting forward a saintly spiritual life, then how can you be justifying killing animals as well? So that's good. That's a step forward. And it's increased enormously. It's peaked, and now we want to see that diminish. So many thousands of people go vegetarian every month now. Globally, that must be hundreds of thousands of people. And we want that to just keep increasing, and then there will be a drop in the demand for meat eating. More and more young people are becoming aware. And Srila Prabhupada, whenever he was preaching, he didn't go past two things when he was talking to Christians. Thou shalt not kill. Why are you killing? You can have many sons. Why can God only have one? They were the 2 points. He wouldn't move off from, if they couldn't get the head around that, he wouldn't go any further. If you can't grasp that killing animals is wrong and that God is unlimited and can have as many sons as he wants, then we can't go any further on. It's like trying to get into algebra and you haven't learned that 2 + 2 = 4. Well, there's no point, because the whole calculation will be flawed because you have not grasped the initial premise of spiritual life, that taking life is bad, is evil, and life itself is sacred and divine. And does anyone know the Hebrew for thou shalt not kill in the Bible? Lo is thou shalt not, and tzark means kill anything whatsoever. It was translated as murder. Some of the Bibles now have got thou shalt not murder, so they can carry on eating their meat, but the original Hebrew. So what they should have is the Bible as it is, with the original Hebrew, word for word, a translation, and then a purport. This is so authoritative. You can go and find these parchments of paper with the Sanskrit written on, indicating it's ancient. And then it's all translated before your very eyes, and then explained. And then Srila Prabhupada, he'll refer to the previous acharyas. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur said this, Baladev Vijayabhusana said that, Sridhar Swami said this. And so then it's all just coming in parampara. So very authoritative. And then we have to become very conversant with the philosophy, so that, and also to know how to administer the philosophy, because it may be that somebody cannot grasp immediately higher concepts. So we start with like a basic understanding, and then we try and build up. And that takes experience to learn that. At first, when you first come to Krishna consciousness, it just seems like, well, this is the obvious thing. And it's just like sticking a hypodermic needle in everybody. This is the medicine. Don't like it. That's your problem. Get that inside you, you know. But that won't work. As soon as people say, oh, that's that horrible man again with the hypodermic needle, he's going to start trying to stab me, and they're just running, you know. They don't want that nasty man coming near me anymore. So for them, you just give them a sugar lump, and they get some medicine, not much, but a little bit, and it has a good effect. And they get Mahapunya, they get a human birth in the next life. Everyone's fine. You're a nice guy, they're a nice guy, everything's good, and they're getting a human birth. If you're going to challenge and smash somebody, then maybe you do defeat them, but the operation was a success, but the patient died. So then it wasn't so good. Because the idea of the operation is to save the patient. And that may take time, and we have to be a little bit patient with people. Anyway, initially we should be focusing more on ourselves, saving ourselves, and becoming steady. And focusing on what are those unwanted things in my heart that are diluting my enthusiasm to practice devotional service. There's 6 forms of unsteady devotional service mentioned in the Madhura Kandambini. There's Niyama Akshama, which is the inability to follow vows. Then there's Vayuddha Vikalpa, mental vacillation. Taranga Ranjani, becoming enamored by facilities that come when we practice devotional service. Anyone know the other 3? Which is Utsamai. Utsa is confident, and Mai means it's based on false things. And then what's the sporadic endeavor? Garana Tarala. And there's one other one. You know Jananda? 6th one. Garana Tarala. Anyway, there they are. So there's 6 formidable opponents to deal with. And when we get to the stage where our service is steady, that we can continue on doing something whether we feel like doing it or not, when our principles become more proactive than our feelings, then we're approaching Nishta. And then from Nishta, Ruchi, and then Asakti is when you're attached. So attached means you can't get Krishna out of your mind. It's like being in love with a beautiful woman and you just can't stop thinking about her. The mind is just fixed on this. And because of that, no other woman is attractive anymore. Krishna is so beautiful, so amazing. So that's the stage of Asakti. And that's as far as you can go with sadhana. And then bhava and prema, that just comes by mercy. There's only so far you can go with your own efforts. And then you reach a point where then it's like, okay, now it's up to you, Krishna. Like Kadamba Maharaj was giving a class and he was saying, you may think that by being a sannyasi, that's it. Now I've made it. He says, no. Doesn't impress Krishna. He says, you may think I'll become a guru, then that'll please Krishna. I'll become a GBC. No, only when Krishna is pleased. And he's not pleased by those things. I mean, those things are nice, they're helpful. But ultimately, when Krishna gives you bhava and prema, then he's giving himself, because then he comes under your control. So he's cautious about doing that. So they may want to sideline killing animals as just a minor detail, but actually it's an intrinsic part of practicing spiritual life, is that the first development, like Bhakti Alan is saying, this compassion, when it comes into the heart, this is the dawning of devotional service. This is the first quality that starts to come. The heart softens. You start to see that people are suffering, and you want to extend yourself to try and help them out of compassion. And you know that you can be compassionate by giving them a book, and then you can be more compassionate by getting them to give a donation for the book. They can be even more compassionate by getting them to give a really big donation for the book. And then you can be super compassionate by getting them to give everything for the book. Shishikoni tai mai pachachiki. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much for a wonderful class, Prabhu. Very enlightening. It's really nice to hear these things and very useful for myself, at least, to hear those things, especially about these six problems of devotional service.
Unsteady devotional service, yeah.
Unsteady devotional service, yeah. I had a question about this issue about the thoughts of animals. The animal is aware it's going to die. We know in slaughterhouses, animals are aware they're going to die, and some of them act in all different ways, and they have to get forced into the pens to get dispatched. And it's a horrible atmosphere. And they're aware that the person is going to kill them, and they're having these thoughts, this horrible person is going to sacrifice me, but they're not, they don't know the purpose of the sacrifice. This is the thought of the animal. And I just wondered, how is it not possible that animals can contemplate, if they can contemplate the purpose of sacrifice, but they're not able to contemplate like the meaning of existence? Because it seems like the purpose of sacrifice is related to religious principles. And it's almost alluding that the animal might be aware of some sort of religious principles. So can you clarify that, please?
Yeah, the level of the animal's ability. There's actually a book by Janananda Maharaj. It's called Animals and Krishna Consciousness. Then there's one there, an elephant, it would fast on Ekadashi. When the curtains opened, it would pay its obeisances. And during the greeting of the deity, they could see tears coming down its eyes. And when it did die, they put its picture on the altar because they considered it was a great saint. So we can't make a sweeping statement about animals. And there's stories in the book of Jad Bharat being an animal, and other people who found themselves in unfortunate situations where they had developed consciousness, but they have a body of an animal. So that's good, because that makes us a little bit more careful in how we're going to treat them, and cautious in how we treat them. And when you spend some time with animals, we had a black alpaca here for a while, and it started choking on the feed, which is a common thing with grazers, apparently. So we were trying everything, and I was there late one night with it, trying to pacify it, give it some painkillers, try and calm it down. And when it did finally leave its body, it was looking at me, pleading at my eyes, and I could see it was a soul. It was just another living entity like me. It was in this situation, and it was very afraid it was going to die, and it was in a lot of pain as well, And it was like a heart-to-heart connection through the eyes. And so it died in the Holy Dham. It had some prasadam, and when it left, the devotees were playing bhajans, and they had a picture of the deities there for them, so that when they left, it was auspicious. When he left, it was auspicious, And we're not sure. Sometimes it's hard for us to comprehend. Sometimes it's better to not try to comprehend things, but just to take shelter. It's like if you feel you'd like to understand something in Krishna consciousness, and you'd like Krishna to reveal it to you, he can. He will do that. He will give you, but you have to be patient sometimes. But if you treasure that question, guaranteed Krishna will always answer the question in one way or another, either through somebody speaking to you, or a lecture, or you read, or you're just chanting and suddenly it clicks, and it's like, wow, So we have a tendency, because of the way we've been educated, that we think education means you think of that, and then you come to that conclusion, boom, 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 boom. But spiritual life, it's more like a eureka. It's more like it just kind of spontaneously comes into your mind. And that shows you that it wasn't you that worked it out. It was Krishna just giving it to you. And the less you interfere with Krishna doing that, the more it leaves him free to just do whenever he feels. You just build up your faith. As the weeks go by, you become more strong in your faith. I'm really struggling with this right now. Like, I've been struggling with this for a long time. But I think for Krishna to reveal this. It's a big thing, you know, that how do you understand that Krishna has always existed? And that's hard enough. But then on top of that, and he's got marks on his feet, and he's wearing a yellow dhoti, and he's got a flute, and it's this size, and he's got these cows, and he's got these friends, and he's got these parents, and he's got this place, and it's like, hold on a second, everything has just always been here forever. And you can't figure that one out. It's like going around trying to figure out why the sky is blue, why is the grass green, why wasn't the grass purple? And there's a certain point where you just, well, it's just, that's what it is, it's blue, and the grass is green, and cows eat it, and milk comes out. It's just the way it is. And the man's like, yeah, but why does milk have to come out? Why can't it be grass juice? It should be grass juice. It's just chewing grass. It gets sloshed around in its belly for a while, and then grass juice comes out. I found it. This is what it is. This is from Madhura Kandamini. Utsamai, false confidence, Ganatarala, sporadic endeavor, Vayuddha Vikalpa, mental vacillation. Shall I engage in chanting or reading or service? Shall I get married or shall I take sannyas? Vishaya Sangara, war with sense pleasure, the ongoing battle with sense pleasure and previously acquired desires. Sometimes you meet with victory and sometimes with defeat. Vishaya Sangara. And then Taranga Ranjani. Material facilities start to come, and then you start becoming quite enamored by it all. And they all water down your devotional service. So you can analyze, is my devotional service steady, or am I a bit up and down? Okay, if I am, then it must be one of these 6, if not all 6. And we're battling through those different forms of unsteady devotional service to change from kanishta to nishta without being fixed to being fixed. And what's the best way to speed up the process? Jayananda Prabhu. How to speed up the process of anatanavriti? Well, one way is the acquisition of knowledge, because you may not realize it's unwanted. Like with weeds, you know. If you're going to go weeding and you want to speed up the weeding process, if every time you're weeding, like I've got a load of things growing now, and I'm not sure whether it's, I put a load of flower seeds down, but I can't remember where I put them. And there's all these things come up. And I've been pulling some of them out thinking it's probably a weed. Because when you pull a weed, it's got like a red stem. My dad was telling me that used to be a garden. If it's got a red stem to it, it's a weed. But obviously it's going to be a lot quicker if you know exactly what a weed looks like. I know one of those guys. Like I can see a nettle just as it starts to come. So that's finished straight away. So what speeds up the process of anatanavriti is acquisition of knowledge. And then you recognize, that's not a wanted thing. Get rid of that. That's a bad attitude. You need to get rid of that. Stop arguing, stop fault finding. That's unwanted. That's not going to do you any good. It may make you look a bit cleverer at the moment, but in the long run, you lose your enthusiasm. That's how you can really, if you make this big equation and then it equals lost enthusiasm, it means the equation went wrong somewhere. Because the end of the equation should always be, I feel so enthusiastic now. I can't wait to get out there and surrender. Then you know the formula before that was right. But if the conclusion is equals lack of enthusiasm, okay, something went wrong there. Something unwanted came in, you know. And why would we want to do unwanted things? We're trying to achieve a goal. We're committed sadhakas. We want to go back to Godhead this lifetime. So why are we doing things that are detrimental? Because of lack of knowledge. So that speeds up the process of anatanavriti. Association of devotees also speeds up the process of anatanavriti, because you see that some devotees are steady and you think, I'd like to be steady. I'd like to be able to sing and chant like that. So that means they must have got free from at least some of the anatas that I'm struggling with that are preventing me from from being like that. So that's how we speed up the process. And also another way we speed up the process, we've just been reading in Harinam Chintamani. Haridas Thakur is speaking with Lord Chaitanya. And Haridas Thakur says, one can only get free from the material world by constantly chanting the holy name. So we do the 16 rounds on the beads, but then how many rounds do we do off the beads? How much do we chant? 6 hours sleeping, 2 hours on the beads. So we've got 16 hours left. How many of those 16 hours do we chant? So the more that those 16 hours are filled with chanting, the more those 2 hours of chanting will get better. Because that's where we lose it, or we build up a certain amount of potency when we're chanting one round after another, one holy name after another. We build up a certain charge, and then we have the iron bars in the fire, and it's actually starting to get hot, you know. And then we pull it out, and then we've got to wait now 22 hours before I put it back in again. So you have to keep chanting all the time, then the bar stays hot and glowing. It's amazing how many rounds you can just chant. You can do like 40 rounds, an extra 40 rounds easily, and still be doing everything, and still chanting to people and eating ice cream and everything. It's amazing how much time gets wasted. And automatically your japa is so much better when you chant these extra. If you just decide, I'm going to start chanting an extra 4 rounds a day, just off the beads, you know, then your japa will be better. So that also speeds up the process of anartha-nivritti. And also Srila Prabhupada said everyone should learn to chant 5-minute rounds. So not that you've got steam coming out your ears and you're like, and you can't hear anything, you know. But just that if a person's not fettered by the influence of the modes of nature, then he's able to chant without being restricted. The holy name just comes to him. The mantra is alive, actually, and the mantra, when we can become absorbed in the mantra, then the mantra starts to chant us. We stop chanting the mantra, and the mantra starts chanting us instead. The mantra takes over. When I was a kid, my dad used to play this game with me. I was only like about 3 years old, 4 years old, but I always remember this. He used to get me to stand on his feet, and he'd hold my hands, and then he'd dance around the living room with me, you know. And I thought it was really funny when I was a kid because he was so strong that he could just lift me on his feet, you know. But the mantra is like that. You think that you're dancing, and then suddenly the mantra takes over, and the mantra's chanting you. The mantra takes over. The mantra is alive, fully cognizant. And the mantra can tell you things. Haridas Thakur knew that lady was there too, because Ramachandra Khan had sent her. He knew that. He said, I knew a few days ago you were coming. So the holy name can tell you what's going to happen. When you hear the holy name, you don't just hear the holy name. You hear a person, supreme person, and he can tell you so many things that you need to hear. Sri Kaligya. So when you know what's coming, that's when you know you're really hearing the holy name properly. And the holy name is your friend, so he doesn't want you to be caught out or surprised by Maya. He wants to warn you, watch out for this. There's going to be a prostitute coming in 3 days, so just chant extra rounds, and 3 days she'll become your disciple. Okay. Did the same with Arjuna. Showed Arjuna that they're already dead, so don't worry about it. Don't feel guilty. They're dead anyway. It's just whether you do it or I do it with somebody else or I do it myself, but they're already dead. And then Arjuna say, okay, well, it's not me that's killing them. I'm just following in with the plan. Any other questions or comments? It's interesting. It's instructions for civilized human beings. So no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling, and attending the morning program. That makes you a civilized human being. Then you're the person that's eligible for getting those instructions. And then how to be able to share those instructions with others who are uncivilized, who don't appreciate the importance of taking up spiritual life in the first place. Yes.
Yes. You know, you mentioned about these unwanted things, and you were offering some information how we can get past them. Association of devotees, prashad, gaining knowledge. Is there anything else that aspiring devotee can do to help clear the unwanted things from themselves and to become, you know, more steady?
Yet in the Ubadashamrita, Uttanishchatarya Tata Kama Pravartana Sangachaka Satovrati Shabda Bhakta Pasijati. So the nectar of instruction, it's like you take all the Vedic scriptures, there's 100 billion verses in the Vedic scriptures, and you take all of them and you get the essence, which is 11 instructions. That's what Rupa Goswami has given us. And of those 11 instructions, Utsahan, be enthusiastic. 2, be confident. So an enthusiastic person is always happy. You never see a miserable, enthusiastic person. So Rupa Goswami is saying, be happy and enthusiastic. Be into what you're doing. Be confident. Don't allow doubts to come into the mind or contemplate doubts. And then be patient. So being enthusiastic is a challenge, but you can learn how to do that after a while. You just be enthusiastic anyway, and just be confident, because it worked out the last time, so so just get into it, it'll be okay. But then the challenge is, can you be patient? Because generally we can be enthusiastic and confident for half an hour, and then when we don't get what we want, or what we don't want doesn't get removed, we're like, I've been enthusiastic and confident now for about 3 days. I mean, what's going on, you know? I don't think this works. So being patient, when you first read being patient, you're thinking it means maybe a week, you know? And then after a while, you start realizing it means a lifetime. You've got to be patient for a lifetime, or at least most of it. And then toward the end, Krishna decides to start giving you bhava and prema, you know? So it's a long haul. So okay, I'm going to be patient, enthusiastic and confident for a lifetime. And then I'm going to avoid the association of worldly minded persons. And I'm going to follow the regular principles, hearing, chanting. I'm going to go with the program and follow it, apply it properly. I'm going to give up the association of worldly minded persons, and I'm going to follow in the footsteps of devotees who are steady. And hear from them. Instead of me trying to tell them, I should be hearing from them all the time. You know, why am I trying to tell them how to work out? They've already worked out. They have to tell me how to work it out. I'm still trying to get out the lurch. So I have to start listening more and speaking less. And and it is a very strong thing, as Srila Prabhupada refers to that as well in the Nectar of Instruction, that the materially conditioned person likes to hear the sound of his voice. And it's compared to the croaking toad. And if he keeps talking all the time, then the snake finds where the frog is or the toad is. But if the toad just keeps quiet, then the snake can't find it. So hearing more and speaking less, and this ability to hear, Machita Savadagani. If you can hear, then you'll overcome all the problems. Our problem is because of false ego. We don't listen properly. Or we're listening, but we're listening to our reply of what we're going to say. So we're half listening to what they're saying and we're half formulating what we're going to say, rather than just really hear the person, and you'll automatically know what to say because you'll have really understood, really registered what he was saying, and then the proper reply will come. That's how you hear. And empathy, it's a therapy in itself, actually, because very few people want to listen to anybody else. So when a person becomes a counselor and he's trying to heal a person, he helps that person heal by listening to the person. And when the person is speaking and realizes that he's being listened to, that in itself is a therapy. Even without saying anything to the person, just the fact that you're listening to the person. And quite often what happens is when somebody is being listened to, they start listening to themselves, and then they're able to come up with the solution themselves. A lot of time with counseling, you're not trying to give them the solution. You're trying to get them to stumble across it themselves. Because if they come up with a solution, then they're more inclined to want to listen to it as well, or apply it as well. Jai, Iskon Guru Vrinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanandi.
His Grace Adhoksaja Krishna Das ki.